Welcome back to the Petless PvP challenge, where I, a very inexperienced PvPer, try to level without a pet on a PvP server, and every time I die, I have to delete some gear. And while there are a few other rules, since I'd rather not take up way too much time explaining all the various edge cases again, I'll just throw up a basic overview on screen, and if you want, you can pause, though I will still try and bring up all the asterisks whenever they're relevant. But if you really want to know all the small details and whatnot, I highly recommend checking out the first video if you haven't already. That being said, last time, we successfully managed to finish pretty much everything there was to do in Eversong Woods, and then completed a decent chunk of the Ghostlands, before finally meeting an untimely death at level 16 at the Windrunner Spire, mainly due to my lack of spatial awareness, ultimately costing us our chest piece, bracers, and belt. And also my gloves, because I wasn't paying attention and accidentally deleted those too. But since I kinda just didn't talk about all the stats I actually lost, let's do a quick overview of our gear to catch everyone up to speed. Prior to the fall, I had a total of 9 different gear slots filled, with my stats totaling up to 6 agility, 5 stamina, 1 spirit, and 266 armor. And so, after subtracting the 2 agility, 1 stamina, and 156 armor we lost from the items we deleted, that now left us with 4 agility, 4 stamina, 1 spirit, and a very low armor stat of only 110. But luckily for us, I just so happen to have the perfect pair of backup gloves quietly tucked away in our bags. That are actually pretty garbage, but at least it's worth something.
Now I have to clear all these stupid casters just to get back up to the other guys. They don't even have mana for me to steal. What? What kind of casters are these? Oh my gosh! Ooh, new bracers. Only worth 9 armor, but hey, it's better than nothing. I just need one more of these acolytes, but these stupid rangers are everywhere. Thank goodness we are out of here. Put on a shirt, dude.
And so, after getting our revenge for something that was entirely our own fault, and yes, I know it was technically just my fault, but for some reason I like to narrate using collective pronouns, though technically we isn't actually a collective pronoun, and it's technically considered a first-person plural pronoun. But since I'm delusional and like dying on arbitrary hills, and would rather not take full responsibility for my stupid actions, I'm just gonna keep narrating as if I have some kind of Venom-esque symbiote, and also because saying we somehow just rolls off the tongue a bit easier. Right, World of Warcraft.
Oh, bro can't even kill a bat.
Inventory is full.
What is with all these stupid potions? Stop giving me consumables and other random items that are actually useful because I'll never use them. Come on, just let me up the... Fine. Oh, are you kidding me? Ugh. What the... No, not the snake. Oh my. I don't like this. Ah! I'm a chicken. What? Why can they go through walls? Oh, they saw me through the window, probably. Hey! That makes this way easier. Thank you, random person. Oh, he's a caster. That actually makes this a little bit easier. What? Bandage while we wait. Oh, I should have used the rejuvenation potion. I'll not get hit by that one. Oh my gosh. Just keep circling. No, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. Oh, no. Oh my gosh, that was terrifying. If I had actually like taken him all the way down here through the hills, I would have died. But because he was a caster, that made it so much easier to just chase him around this circle. Hey, well, new bracers.
But after our successful triumph over Kelgash, reaching level 19, and obtaining another new bow, I decided that it was finally time to head to the barrens and prep for our first dungeon, that being Wailing Caverns. And if you're wondering why we skipped Ragefire Chasm, that's because I was lazy and didn't feel like going to Orgrimmar yet.
Wait. You're supposed to have an eye patch. You lost an eye. That's not right. I guess that was added later.
And now here's where I interrupt the entire video to explain the history of lor'themar's eye. Obviously, this has absolutely nothing to do with the video, so here's a timestamp for those who just don't care. The first depiction of lor'themar actually comes from the Sunwell trilogy, a 3-volume manga series with its original run spanning from 2005 to 2007. And despite him clearly not having a functional left eye in that series, both his in-game appearance and his official artwork in the loading screens clearly show both of them being perfectly fine. This was eventually fixed in Mists of Pandaria when they finally gave him an eye patch, which they occasionally put over the wrong eye a few times, which was later changed to a monocle during the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. As for the loading screen artwork though, this wasn't changed until Warlords of Draenor, though his damaged eye once again appears on the wrong side, which is likely because they kinda just ripped this design straight from this image and then flipped it without a second thought. Fun fact though, this artwork is actually the one used as the cover image for a short story about lor'themar titled In the Shadow of the Sun, which was originally a piece of fanfiction that won the grand prize in Blizzard's 2008 Global Creative Writing Contest, which was then later released with slight edits as official lore in 2012. But for most of the game's history, lor'themar pretty much looked like this, a regular old blood elf occasionally depicted with an eye patch or monocle until Battle for Azeroth, where he was then finally given his own unique model where he no longer wears an eye patch at all and instead just leaves his gross looking eyeball out for everyone to see. But that brings us to the end of this tangent, so let's get back to that travel montage.
Why are they celebrating the Lunar Festival in the room where Arthas killed his father? This seems like slightly disrespectful. I can't see anything. Oh hey, this guy's a blood elf now. He's a high elf, I guess, actually.
Look everybody, I found Mancrick's wife.
We then receive a chess piece with some rather lackluster stats, but that I decided to keep as a potential backup, and then head over to turn in a quest at Thunderbluff, which not only rewards us with a staff that I decide to save, but also a few agility potions, which is quite nice since I have yet to actually find that recipe. We then kill a few Quillboar, who really enjoyed rooting me in place every few seconds, get another staff, hit level 20, and then decide to actually equip that second staff, and then head right back over to Thunderbluff for some training.
I hate this city. I have to go through the buildings every time.
And since we were now level 20, that meant we now had access to arguably the best movement ability in the game, Aspect of the Cheetah, which allows us to run 30% faster at the cost of guaranteeing that we get dazed whenever we get hit. So, on second thought, maybe it's actually just one of the best long-distance movement abilities. As for the rest of our new abilities, we also picked up the ability to dual wield, which I probably won't ever do unless we just find some really good one-handers or I end up losing all of our two-handers, which, while unlikely, is still a very real possibility. freezing trap, which basically just locks the enemy in place for 10 seconds and prevents them from attacking. And then last but not least, there's disengage, a melee range threat drop that I probably just should have ignored because half the time these abilities are all pretty much useless. But anyways, with all these nice new upgrades, it was now finally time to venture into Wailing Caverns, and after killing a few more Quillboar and leveling up my staff skill, I was finally able to find a group with another hunter that was level 21, a level 19 shaman, a level 17 paladin, and a level 22 rogue. And fortunately for us, they all seemed to be totally okay with my petlessness.
What did the pet do? Pet doesn't let me aura farm, that's what.
So, after missing the jump for the quests up top, which I totally never mess up every other single time I do it and you'll just have to believe me because I said so. By the way, the best trick I've found to doing narrow jumps like these consistently is to turn your back to the cliff, jump in place, and then while you're in the air, lightly tap your back pedal key. And if you're wondering, this technique also works for the second jump in the Blackrock Mountain skip to quickly get down to Blackrock Depths and Molten Core. The only real tricky part with stuff like this though is mainly just making sure you're in the right spot before you jump. And in this case, most of this left side will work, but if you want something specific, most of the time I like to line myself up with this corner and this part of the rock texture. But anyways, after grabbing the quests up here, we then head into the cave, just as the rogue and the shaman kill the invisible goblin for the Trouble at the Docks quest. And if you were wondering, even though some of them technically occur outside of their respective dungeon, I will be considering all quests marked as dungeon quests to still be a part of that dungeon, since I basically just copied my only grouping for dungeons rule straight from the rule set of the community-ran hardcore servers, back when those were still a thing. Though I guess they're technically back now with the recent trend of Burning Crusade hardcore, but not important. I've stalled long enough, let's just get into Wailing Caverns. And immediately upon starting the dungeon, there were 3 things I noticed. First, I won a pretty nice axe on a greed roll that I barely even looked at before rolling on, which will actually serve as a pretty nice backup. Second, the rogue has fiery weapon, which not only makes him look cool, but because he's also the highest level, it also means that he'll probably take top DPS, which doesn't matter at all, especially while leveling, and because there are plenty of other metrics to measure whether or not someone is actually useful to a dungeon group, and to be honest, the only real thing that matters is whether or not you can clear the content. But again, since I'm delusional, I still think it's fun to compete on the damage meter, even in moments like these when I'm clearly at a disadvantage, because being the big line on the chart feels cool. But anyways, the third thing I noticed was that we don't have a tank or a healer. Pretty cool, right? By the way, this is probably a good time to remind everyone about the dungeon death exception, and how if I die within a dungeon, all of the gear slots chosen by the wheel get queued for deletion, meaning I can still wear them until the end of the dungeon. Why am I bringing this up? Well, mainly because I said I'd bring up any of these asterisks in situations where they might be relevant, but why bring it up right now at this exact moment? No reason.
What the? Why are these blue?
Oh, and as a bonus 4th thing, I also noticed for the first time that Plater, the add-on I use for enemy nameplates, also added a feature at some point that highlights certain mobs in light blue if they're considered high priority, meaning they probably do a lot of damage or have some kind of annoying CC, like in this case, where these druids have a very annoying sleep ability. And while the niche functionality of my add-ons isn't really that important, this does give me a good segue to point out to those unfamiliar with these kinds of add-ons that as a DPS, all enemies start out in red until they've been aggroed, and then they swap to dark blue to signify that someone else has threat. And then yellow means I'm about to steal threat, and red means that I have stolen threat and that now this enemy wants to kill me. Why do I feel the need to bring this up? No reason. Also, sorry if that sounded like an ad. I'm not sponsored by Plater, though I don't even know if add-on developers sponsor people to begin with. If they do, and you just so happen to be an add-on developer watching this, I am open. Just let me know. I just know that I have a weird UI, and I thought the immediate callback joke would kind of be funny. Alright, fine. Let me just show you why, unless you really know what you're doing, which we kind of didn't, why you actually need a tank. And yes, I am including myself in that statement, because as soon as we accidentally pulled the first boss, as well as several other mobs because we forgot that the blue raptors can call for help, I decided to press
Multi-shot
which
was not a good idea.
And while I was successfully able to kite them around with wing clip just long enough for them to focus down the boss, after that, the group kinda just didn't help me. Sure, the other hunter had his own problems to deal with, but it didn't really take long for that to become my problem as soon as he died. And while sure, the rogue did eventually try and attack one of the mobs, the paladin, the only person in the group that can wear mail and that actually has a taunt ability, just completely ignored everything to make a run for the portal, which I probably would have done myself, and is exactly what I was trying to do in that moment. And it's quite possible that I would have actually succeeded by using Aspect of the Cheetah had I not run into this bone, allowing the one raptor that I hadn't wing clipped just enough time to catch up for a guaranteed daze.
Fantastic.
Time to spin the wheel.
But before we do that, let's take a quick moment to review our gear. And by quick, I mean very quick, because I'm just going to throw everything on screen at once, and if you really want to know all the specific items and stats at risk here, feel free to pause and take it all in. Good? Great.
Legs. Reroll. That's annoying. Shoes.
And so, with our chest piece, pants, and boots now becoming queued, this death will ultimately cost us 7 of our 20 agility, 3 of our 9 stamina, and 172 of our 370 armor.
What? Did I win the shoulders? I guess I won. Nice.
But despite my better judgment, instead of waiting to put them on so that I could save them from falling subject to the mercy of the wheel if I were to potentially die again, I decided to take the risk and put the shoulders on anyway, because I didn't want the rest of the group to ask me why I would roll need on a very nice item and then just not put it on. Which just goes to show that peer pressure is actually real, even though none of them actually said anything, and I kinda just got into my own head and didn't feel like explaining that the shoulders I took may very well end up getting deleted in the near future. And to be honest, that does actually bring up a great question on the ethics of what I'm doing. Is it ethical to take gear from people when I know there's a high chance of it getting deleted? I don't know. But rather than actually take the time to consider that, I think I'm just going to rear window the whole situation and bring up a very valid ethical question and then just not actually answer it. And then just hope that reference actually lands, even though that movie was released over 70 years ago, and the majority of my audience falls within the range of 25 to 44. Unless you guys are all just lying, which maybe don't do that. But now that I've spent far too long covering just the first boss, let's go ahead and cover the rest of the dungeon, and see how long it takes before I go on another tangent. But anyways, after another somewhat messy pull that resulted in the death of the paladin, and that almost killed our shaman, our rogue finally asked the million-dollar question that everyone else had been ignoring up to this point, which resulted in the paladin finally accepting their inevitable fate as the tank, and meaning that our shaman had officially become the healer. And so, after kiting some more mobs around to ease the pressure on the tank, but like on purpose this time, we quickly took down Cobran, lost the roll on the pants, which everyone needed but that ended up going to the other hunter, and then killed Kresh while briefly taking over his tank, because I was impatient and didn't wait for the paladin to secure threat, and he ended up dropping the cool shield, which went to the paladin. Although, the paladin didn't actually have a one-hander at the moment, so she just two-hand tanked the whole dungeon, which actually worked out fine, and was probably better for threat generation anyways. Shortly after, I managed to beat out the shaman for the swiftness pot recipe, and then continued kiting things just like before to help the tank, and to keep the mobs from interrupting the healer. I then won a greed roll for a robe I didn't need, won a need roll for a pair of pants that I definitely did need, though I did actually decide to wait to put these ones on, unlike the shoulders. Then killed Lord Pythus, who dropped the chest piece, and that ended up going to the shaman. But immediately after that, I then find myself kiting a lot more than I'd anticipated after stealing 2 mobs off the healer, and then accidentally pulling a 3rd one.
I'm gonna die.
But fortunately the tank managed to taunt right as the healer started running out of mana, allowing us to finish the pull without any more issues. Although, the other hunter was starting to run out of arrows, so he asked to buy some off of me, and deeming this a practical trade, I was willing to oblige, though as per my rules, I wasn't actually allowed to accept anything from him. But since I kinda just opened trade without actually saying anything, he did try to pay me with a mushroom, but the trade ended up getting cancelled because my bags were full. So on the second try, he just didn't give me anything, and I gave them to him for free, which was supposed to be the plan all along. And while yes, this does technically mean that I did in fact attempt to accept something in return, but come on, What am I going to do with a mushroom? And no, this does not count as a tangent because technically it's still challenge related, so I won them. Unrelated, but have you guys ever had red herring before?
Oh, they pulled everything. This run is so cursed. Why is he just staring at and the paladin doesn't have res? Wait, there's no way res is at 24. Oh my gosh.
And so, after running back just in case the shaman needed help, we then killed Scum, who dropped the dagger for the rogue, and then everyone just started walking in the complete wrong direction, because I took a quick detour to grab a serpent bloom and didn't realize they'd all started following me. They did eventually catch on once I told them to come back, but by that point, they'd already crossed this gap.
Watch, someone's gonna fall. Ah!
Not long after that, I managed to hit level 21, and the rest of the dungeon pretty much went off without a hitch. We killed Serpentis, who dropped some caster gloves that no one wanted but that the paladin ended up getting, dealt with Verdun, who dropped a stamina cloak that also went to the paladin, and then completed the escort quest leading up to Mutanis.
Somehow, we got here. I have 20 arrows left. Oh no. 3, 2... That's my last arrow. And there we go. And of course, it's these ones. Oh, they changed that to mana in this version. That's interesting. I rolled a 1. The only one I didn't finish was Deviate Hides, and I am going to make no effort to do that, because that's so not worth it. I mean, yeah, you get a 10 slot and some nice agi pants. Well, maybe I do need to do it, because now I don't have any pants after this. Okay, you know what? We're just going to drop the bananas. Actually, no, these are 4 edgy pants. What's the stats on these? 4 edgy, 4 stamp, 6-8 armor? Oh, yeah, these are exactly what they would give me from this quest. So, yeah, we're not doing Deviate Hides. Oh, but now I gotta... We're just meleeing our way out of the cave. I'm just gonna run it. Okay. Let me delete what I gotta delete. So I have to delete my chest, my legs, and my feet. So let's put this on, and let's also put on our new gloves. These are my old gloves. I have to get rid of those. This I sell. Don't want that. Don't want that. This is going to be my new backup, so I don't need that. Across at least 41 minutes. This is, yeah, overall, I was number 2. The rogue had fiery weapon, so, but even without it, he still would have done way more. Looks like he would have done like 10k higher, which is pretty solid.
With Wailing Caverns complete, that meant that all that was left was to turn in all of our quests, as well as a few non-dungeon quests like the Quillbore Tusk one that I wasted 3 entire bag slots on because I forgot to turn it in before I went to the dungeon, although this one did actually give me a nice new cloak.
By the way, 60 upgrades, can you please fix your cloaks, because all of the ones that are supposed to be short are not.
As for the dungeon quests though, these ended up rewarding me with the Crescent Staff, a fantastic new melee weapon that I decided to pick over the Wing Blade despite its 5 agility because it's cool and I like using 2-handers when I play a hunter, as well as the Talbar Mantle, which we'll be saving as a potential backup for our shoulder slot. But with all that said and done, I decided that it was finally time to venture into our very first PvP zone, Stone Talon Mountains. But we'll cover that next time.